Salutations from space, folks. This is your friendly astronaut, Gemini Brett, and at the behest of a beloved few from the Cascadia crew, I'm here to take a look at the planetary energies that will dance with us as we come together to frolic with one another in the forests of Granite Falls, Washington this weekend at the Cascadia Festival. So please sit down and enjoy a cup of astrolo tea with me. First, for a little teacup Tarot, cup for you. The sun, good choice. And for me, Mercury, the one that brought this astro art to us. And for, well, you know, Venus, the goddess of love. And one more. Earth, well done. The most important of all of the planets. Wouldn't you agree? Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Earth. Seems like we'll have a inner solar system exploration focus. And so as we look to the chart, well, maybe I'll clear some of these characters from here. I've got a lot of asteroids up. Got Eris here, the dwarf planet, twice as far from the sun as Pluto is. And Eris is maybe very important at this time with Uranus just about to conjunct. Though Uranus will station retrograde this Sunday. So the first conjunction of theirs since the 1920s won't happen until June of 2016. So let's release Eris from the fold. Let's bring Chiron back in. See that beautiful trine from Chiron to Mars now. Alright, where to begin? Well, perhaps inside out. First, actually, this point, the North Node as it's rising now as I bring this broadcast to you. Right now it's July 22nd, Wednesday, Miércoles, Mercury's Day, around noon. And the North Node is rising in the sign of Libra. The North Node's been in Libra since February of 2014. It will move, they move retrograde, the nodes of the moon, and the North Node will move into Virgo in November of this year, 2015. So after a long time in Libra, we're reaching this graduation. So the North Node in Libra has been pulling our forward focus, that of the collective consciousness, into the energies of Libra, partnership, peace, communication, diplomacy. And you can see the moon here has been joining in the fun the last couple nights. But let's start with your cup, with the sun. Because today is a very special day for the sun. Not because it's the sun's day, Sunday, but because on this Mercury's Day, Wednesday, July 22nd, the sun will ingress into the sign of Leo. Right now at noon, 29 degrees, 40 minutes Cancer. And let's see, we can select the sun moving into Leo here. It happens tonight at 8:30 and 11 seconds p.m. Pacific Standard Time before the sun sets. The sun will move into Leo for the Leo month ahead. That fuel. The old systems say that this is the sign that the sun rules. It's where the sun is most happy, the warmest time of year. So what a wonderful energy for us to come together and dance and play and create this Leo energy of creation of art. And it's the hottest time of year, right? So remember to drink plenty of water when you're out playing this weekend. I spoke about the Leo sun a bit in that short transmission I recorded the other night, But in review, Leo, a fixed sign when the energy of summer is fully fixed in, but fix yourself to fix the world. This is a service to self-growth. Leo is here to free the fire of spirit and will, the roaring flames at the cauldron where we find that self-love and the cultivation of that golden ball here at the Hara is the greatest gift of love we can give to the world. So playful, sure. Creative, artistic, yes. And we hear these things that Leo needs the stage and Leo needs the spotlight. And sometimes this is true. But in its highest light for Leo, the stage needs Leo because Leo is the spotlight, the illuminated one who lights that fire so brightly that others can ignite their own candles from it simply by unwrapping the present of our presence. So that energy of presence, of illumination, of honor, righteousness, sovereignty, walking a high code of conduct. So let us be the fuel that drives us during this weekend as we play with one another under the Leo sun. And this cup that I drew, Mercury. Well, you can see the Mercury is just about to follow the sun into the sign of Leo. And that will happen at let's see, 5:14 a.m. on July 23rd, tomorrow, Thursday. So we've got this movement of Sun and Mercury from the waters of Cancer and the heart into the fires of Leo, the place of will. And it's a very important part of Mercury's dance, a very important stage. We only typically hear about Mercury when Mercury stations retrograde, and we know all the superstitious stuff that we're told at those times. Well, this is the other side of Mercury's cycle. And to really honor that, we've got to look to the stars. You know, this is this, the solar system. And really, this, the geocentric view of the solar system. So look at this, the Sun and Mercury and Mars, Jupiter and Venus. Let's go back to the chart. The Sun and Mercury and Mars, Jupiter and Venus. This is this, is this, is this. All right, so this is right now. And we'll zoom in and take a look at this dance of Mercury and the Sun. And you can see that from Earth, if we look towards Mercury, all we see is the Sun. Same deal with Mars. We're not going to see Mars this weekend at all because Mercury and Mars alike are under the beams. So we'll move through time a little bit. I can come back to the last Mercury retrograde. Now, planets retrograde when we pass a planet, like you can see the Earth is passing Saturn there, or when the inner planets like Venus or Mercury pass us. So here's that time in May and June of Mercury retrograde. Okay, the interior conjunction, Mercury between Sun and Earth. And then we get to this time now, this weekend, where Mercury passes on the other side of the Sun. This is not an opposition in the astrological terms. This is a conjunction. The inner planets can't have opposition. They can never reach the other side of Earth from the Sun. They have two types of conjunctions, the interior conjunction and the exterior conjunction. All right, so this brings Mercury, as you can see here, into the underworld. In fact, we can see this time of the exact Mercury-Sun conjunction, and that is July 23rd, Thursday, tomorrow, 12:23 p.m. So this is one of the energies that we will be coasting in with to this Cascadia Festival this weekend. And what does it mean for Mercury to be on the other side of the Sun? In the underworld. Why do we call this the underworld? Because Mercury has disappeared. He's under the beams, in the phrase of the old systems. And shamanic astrology, the stock of my starry stew, imagines the ancients would have imagined Mercury's disappearance as that fella descending into the underworld. This was one of his gigs as a god, you know, Mercury, the psychopomp, he who would take souls of the dead to their new land below, and the only one who could journey safely to Olympus in the heavens, to Hades in the underworld, and return. So that underworld alignment, it brings the conscious focus, this is Mercury, okay, not only into Leo and into that kind of psychic nature of the fire of the intuition, but also into the depths, into the hidden realms, into the magic, the occulted, and into the ways of the heart. In a sense, the underworld carries this Scorpio resonance. So no surprise that the moon during the course of this weekend will agree with that energy as it finds its way into the sign of Scorpio. The moon will enter Scorpio on Thursday night, July 23rd at 7:06 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can see then that square from the moon in Scorpio to the sun and Mercury in Leo. In fact, this shows that we're coming very close to the first quarter moon. Also tomorrow night, Thursday night, 8:03 p.m. Right? So the moon at 0 degrees 59 minutes Scorpio, basically 1 degree Scorpio, and the sun at 0 degrees 59 minutes Leo. This is the second principal stage of the moon dance, right? And we can zoom in here and honor the moon. We come back in time a little bit. There's the new moon. This was July 16th, 2015. Seeds are planted. This happened in the sign of Cancer. And we get to this time now. It looks like a half moon, the moon getting half illuminated by the sun's light. But it's the first quarter of the way through the cycle, right? In a week from now, we'll get to the full moon phase, the moon being fully illuminated by the sun, and then that third quarter before the next month begins, yeah? So this is a key part of the moon dance, the first quarter moon. In my own practice, new moon is the time to plant the seeds of intention, and that new moon was July 15th, 2015 at 23 degrees Cancer. You can see Mercury on that date was in conjunct Mars and opposite Pluto. Is a very charged chart, and the moon-sun conjunction, the new moon being strongly aligned to Uranus as well. And we could talk about all of those all day. The trine to Chiron, the trine to Saturn as well. In a sense, a grand water trine between those four energies of Scorpio, Saturn, Pisces, Chiron, and the Cancer, moon, and sun. But let's not get too distracted there. What I want to say is at that time, we planted seeds of Cancer intention, and that's the month that we are in now. All right, so family, tribe, nurturing, yeah, this love, karuna, the unconditional love of mother for child from which all other love springs. That Cancer energy, those seeds were planted then. And now as we move into the first quarter month week, those seeds are sprouting, okay? And so they're exposed to the winds and the rain. There's some tension, there's some conflict for the sake of resolution that will come to us as we skirt through this month. But during this week, we are in that time of tension between the Scorpio energy and the Leo energy, this square. All right, so as the heart moves into the sign of Scorpio, the depths of emotions, of passions, of desires, and excitement, we're asked to enjoy ourselves in such a way. And no doubt there'll be plenty of that going down this weekend at the Cascadia Festival. We are reminded in this square, this aspect of tension, that if we're going to roll around and bring our consciousness into crazy spaces, let us do this Scorpio dance in a way that holds that torch of honor, of authenticity, of sovereignty, of high conduct in the ways of the will. We'll be challenged to do that. Are you willing to step up to that challenge? And the moon this weekend, I'll just move through days here. So here's the moon at the top of the sky at 9 p.m. on Thursday, just as the sun is setting, and the moon moves 13 degrees a day. So on Friday, Venus's day, around the same time when we are in full swing and the sun is setting and the moon's at the top of the sky in this first quarter phase, we've got the moon 13 degrees Scorpio. On Saturday night, Saturn's day, well, the moon comes to say hello to Saturn, who's retrograde now, shown as red numbers in this software, Intrepid. And look at that incredible alignment, all right? Trining Chiron and Pisces, trining Mars in Cancer, this grand water trine, the moon carrying those seeds of Cancer nurturing to work with Mars and Chiron now, and then coming to bring that love to Saturn in Scorpio. And it's moving through a very special place of the sky. This place where one of the final tests of the wheel of life is conducted, that of the weighing of the heart. When after the dead moves through the duat of the underworld and enters the halls of Osiris, the heart is cut out to be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, truth and wisdom. And if the heart is as light as the feather, then it's heaven. Now, the heart and the feather, this will be conducted in most beautiful artistic fashion by our friends of Zepto Space. So check them out at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, just as the moon is aligning to Saturn. Zepto will be performing the weighing of the heart. I had the great pleasure to see a dress rehearsal the other night, and it is a most magical thing. So for those of you at the Cascadia Festival, 10 o'clock p.m., Saturday night, Saturn's day, as the moon aligns to Saturn and moves through the feather and the scales and then gets to the heart, as it will this weekend. This is the moon right in the scales. We'll get to see this wonderful story enacted by some wonderful artists, so don't miss that. The Zepto Space, you'll see them all weekend doing wonderful, crazy stuff, is right next to the Dream Dome, but it's 10 o'clock Saturday night to really catch that show. So here's our moon this whole weekend in Scorpio, but bringing those Cancer seeds, okay, tribe and family and nurturing and karuna to the sign of Scorpio, where we can really free the water. Scorpio, like Leo, a fixed sign. Fix yourself to fix the world. Really honor your light and your shadow in full authenticity. A deep dive into the absolute experience and expression of the broken, open, awakened human heart. Passions, desires, excitement. Can we share those with one another? But can we do so in such a way of honor? And the moon, even here, further along in the Scorpio sign, still has a square to Leo, this time represented by Jupiter. Okay? And you might see Venus has turned red. This is not the case today as I'm recording this. Venus still the black numbers of regularly scheduled direct motion and the first degree of Virgo. But on the 25th, this Saturday at 2:28 a.m., Venus will station retrograde. So let's go back to space. As I mentioned before, inner planets retrograde as they are passing Earth. I mean, dig that, right? It's just like passing a car on the highway. It appears to move backwards for a time. So as Venus comes in and she approaches her passing of Earth, she stations retrograde and appears to move backwards through the constellations of the zodiac for a time. For Venus, who moves in retrograde motion least frequently of all the planets, on average this period is 40 days and 40 nights, a most magical number from many of the stories of old. And so Venus will begin this retrograde period. All right, now we've been told by many of the astrological fold that this is a bad time for love. Values and money will have to be put in check. The life review. And I think that's a little strong. I had a lot of people call me 19 months ago during the last Venus retrograde. It's like, hey, I met this guy and he's amazing, but Venus is retrograde. I'm not allowed to start a relationship, right? So there's always time for love. Love is the way. Go for it. And all three of those relationships that formed at the time of the last Venus retrograde are still alive and doing very well. I actually made a point of checking in with all of them this week. So if you happen to meet some beautiful beau under the starry fold during this weekend of the Cascadia Festival, do not reserve your love. Go for what you know. And I'll be speaking about the Venus cycle. It's a 19-month cycle from one conjunction to the next. These interior conjunctions of Venus between the Earth and the Sun. We get 8 of them. We have 5 of them in 8 years. So 8 years of Earth, 13 years of Venus for 5 of these kisses. Our next coming on August 15th. And as Venus stations retrograde, now we in a sense are preparing for that. So how do we prepare for that? And what is that dance of 8 years and that dance of 19 months? How does it come in? Well, the Sumerians broadcasted this through the great story of Inanna, the queen of heaven and earth. And this is the story that I will be sharing at my talk at the Cascadia Festival, which is Sunday at 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the Dream Dome. I hope you will join me there for the 13th flower, the Venus synodic cycle, and the archetypal ascent of the global goddess. For I aim to show you how we are here to participate in an incredible unfolding of the feminine energy who is coming back online in such beautiful ways as Leo now finishes her 19-month investigation of the Capricorn arts, the council of grandmothers, the wisdom of the earth, and will now die from the western sky to be reborn in the east in late August in the sign of Leo, and will begin a 19-month investigation into that way of the sovereign queen, as she prepares 19 months later to usher in a great change. For one of the points of the Venus pentagram will move from Scorpio, where it's been since the 1920s, into Libra for the first time in a long, long time. Well, since the 19th Amendment was ratified, women's right to vote. And this is the subject of my starry story that I would love to share with you on Sunday, so please join my talk. And then we make our way to Earth. Put your feet in the soil, eat a banana, beat your chest, be the monkey that you are, connecting tribe, pick the bugs out of each other's hair, drink some wonderful earthly pu'er, dance, trance, romance. Let's be earthlings. Isn't that what we chose? But from Earth we can look out to space and see these planets on the way into the interstellar beyond. And the first, of course, is the red one, Mars. But if we look to see Mars at this time now, it ain't happening. This software might make it look like Mars is showing up over here, but it's not quite there yet. Mars is currently under the beams. You see Mars 20 degrees in the sun at 2 degrees Leo. That's 12 degrees separation. And for Mars, the rules is 15 degrees separation from the sun before he can be seen. So this began in April of this year, 2015, April 17th, when the sun pulled within 15 degrees of Mars. And this energy, the masculine yang energy, the outward exhale, this creative force, was pulled under the beams of the sun. A couple months later, June 14th, 2015, we had the Mars-Sun conjunction. Mars on the exact opposite side of the Sun in the sign of Gemini. Many astrologers begin his 26-month average cycle then. Shamanic astrology starts it on the other side. But even to this time now and throughout the course of this weekend, Mars will still be in the underworld, in the sign of Cancer, where the traditional systems suggest Mars is in his fall. Now, I beg to differ, but I have to because I have Cancer Mars. So shamanic astrology begins the Mars dance when Mars is in opposition to the Sun. And why? Because this is the time when Mars is closest to the Earth and brightest in our sky. So this was April of 2014. April 8th, 2014. Actually, I can zoom in here. You see, so this is Mars retrograde because the Earth is passing Mars. And that brings Mars closest to the Earth, brightest as Mars gets. So at that time, Mars was in the sign of Libra. So he's moving through the signs and suddenly he hits the brakes and it's like, wait, I need to learn Libra. I need to learn balance and partnership, communication, diplomacy, communication, relationship. Yeah? This is a study that's imperative to the masculine energy now, as we certainly know, especially as it's ushering in that feminine Venus energy of Capricorn wisdom, of the Leo sovereign queen. Okay? So April 8th, 2014, his quest begins in the sign of Libra. What do I need to learn about relationship? Pardon my language, but how have I been a dick? And so now we get into this time where Mars is under the beams, enjoying his 4-month-long underworld initiation, and currently in the sign of Cancer. Nurturing the heart, the sign traditionally said to be the ways of the nurturing mother. So Mars says, why can't there be the nurturing father? Why can't the man be tender? And I shouldn't just say the man, because we all carry yang energy. Why can't our masculine side also have that tenderness, that love for community, for family, for kin, for tribe? And of course he can, but this is something that he's bringing back in. And maybe that masculine side of ourselves is being asked to consider how we've been out of alignment in our service to the goddess, to the feminine, in our service to our own hearts at times in our life. You see, so he began his quest in Libra, relationship, partnership, communication, diplomacy, and now here he is in this underworld initiation, exploring tenderness. So let's be tender with that side of ourselves this weekend, all right? Let's hold some beautiful resonance for the heart, for the tribe, for our community. For here we are in the days of Cascadia with this Scorpio energy of Moon and Saturn. And I love this grand water trine, right? So there's this great time, actually. Get some hours before then. Yeah, around here, okay, an exact grand water trine between the moon, who's still carrying that nature of its traditional home, Cancer, the seeds planted at that Cancer new moon earlier this month. And she's bringing that Cancer energy to nurture Mars in this underworld experience and to bring some of the deep shamanic healing offered by Chiron in Pisces, transcendence, spirituality, merging, okay? So this wonderful grand water trine is in so many ways here to support that yang side of ourselves. In this underworld initiation, Mars will come back from the underworld, will be born again in the morning sky when he comes out from under the beams 15 degrees from the sun. This will be August 5th, 2015. Maybe August 6th, somewhere in here. And just before then, we have the second of this year's 3 Venus-Jupiter conjunctions. You can see Mercury in that show, and well, that's a time to look at ahead. But Mars still in this water trine to Saturn in Scorpio. What's that about? Let's get back to this weekend. And before I go there, how about Jupiter? Jupiter in Leo. Oh, awesome. Jupiter spends a year about in every sign. Jupiter first entered Leo when we gathered together last year in the same forest for the last of the photosynthesis festivals before it would merge and become this year's first Cascadia celebration. Leo, creation, art, manifestation, play. This bright burning flame of inner love at the cauldron. What a wonderful thing for these festivals of ours, and what a wonderful place for Jupiter to have graced us from in the sky over the course of this last year. It's been this big kind of belly laugh when you check in with Jupiter's energy there. The year before in the sign of Cancer, at a very necessary time, it was more like a galactic baby bottle holding us. And this last year, it's been this creative force, and he's just finishing his time in the sign of Leo, not to return for 12 years. So what are these creations, these art forms you're called to bring forth? Now is the time, for very soon, Jupiter will move into his year in the sign of Virgo, August 11th, shortly after that second Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Shortly after Mars is reborn from his underworld initiation, Jupiter moves into Virgo for a year of exploration of what are we devoted to? What is sacred to us? What is our yoga? What is our practice? The North Node will soon follow into Virgo this November. So there'll be a lot of that kind of earthly focus, that priestess focus, that devotional focus. And I think that's coming to us right on time. Well, of course it is, because that's happening in the sky. But how can we align ourselves to that? And before we do, how can we really continue to connect to these Leo mysteries of creation and play? So Jupiter at this time today is still 30 degrees from the sun, and the rule is that he does not descend into the underworld under the beams of the sun until he's about 15 degrees away. But at these high northern latitudes where we live in the Seattle area, in those Olympic mountains in the west, we've already lost Jupiter in the sunset sky. And believe me, I've been looking. So there's this time when that Jupiter energy, this spiritual opening, this teaching, this expansion, this guru nature, this dharma heads under those beams. And as it's worked for the last few years, it's also signaled this time of his transformation, because before he moves into the sign of Virgo, he will descend under the beams, and he will still be under the beams of the sun before he's born again in the morning sky for weeks and weeks after that. And well, why don't we talk about that in weeks and weeks after that? So now we make our way to Saturn in Scorpio, retrograde in Scorpio. Saturn has been in Scorpio since October of 2012. I can show you that here. Here is the ringed one just entering the sign of Scorpio in October of 2012. Now, on December 23rd of 2014, last year, Saturn left the sign of Scorpio to enter 2014, not 2012, to enter Sagittarius. All right. But Saturn on March 14th, 2015, hit the brakes, stationed retrograde. It's like I've got some unfinished business back in that sign of Scorpio. And on that day of June 14th, when Mars and the Sun connected, and that outer conjunction when Mars was Cazimi in the heart of it. Well, I'm just getting all over the place here. Hold on a second. Bad astrologer. I see what's going down. Pardon me, folks. I'm pushing strange buttons, and I really don't have time to edit this out right now, so bear with me. We'll get to that date, June 14th, 2015, Mars in Cazimi, the other side of the sun, in the heart of it, having his energy funneled for a moment through the energy, the source of our solar light. And on that very day, Saturn would retrograde back into the sign of Scorpio. Here he is, all right? And so we get to this time now where Saturn is still retrograde in Scorpio, and it won't be until August 1st, very soon, where Saturn then stations direct in the sign of Scorpio. And he will head back into Sagittarius on, I believe, November 17th. So that's when Saturn will then spend the next 2 years plus in the sign of Sagittarius. There it is, September 17th. And he won't return to Scorpio for about 27 years. Actually, let's see when that is, since we're having an astrological exploration. November 11th, 2041. 11/11, dude. All right, so here we are now. Saturn retrograde in Scorpio. Hit the brakes in March, dove back in mid-June. All right, and said, I got a little unfinished business in Scorpio. So what does that mean? Scorpio, this place of the ripping open of the heart, this place of the full authentic expression of our deepest passions, desires, and excitements. Are we free to do that? Can we free our waters? Have we escaped the cultural cage that would ask us to bury our so-called negative emotions, that would say sex is sin and these types of things? Of course, this is a very vivid exploration here at this stage of the Earth game. And the waters have rushed in since that time of October 2012. Some of us have experienced death and loss and grief, but also these amazing openings of the heart. And if there has been some pain, maybe Saturn in retrograde is saying, did you let those final feathers of the phoenix burn so she can rise from her ashes? My last storytelling podcast, where I told some tales of Hanuman and Kali Ma, was really focused on this. Have you taken your magic back? Have you looked into those shadows to mine the light from them? So if you'd like to hear more about that, please take a listen to my last storytelling episode. It was number 4. And you can find that on my website, morethan.astrology.com. On the homepage, it has the 4 episodes I've recorded since starting my storytelling podcast with Mercury between the Sun and the Earth on May 30th this year. The first episode, Mercury Steals the Herd, would let you know a lot more about the Mercury cycle I was discussing earlier. So this is a big deal this weekend in Cascadia. And I'm really fascinated with the moon moving through that great story of the weighing of the heart and conjuncting Saturn in the sign of Scorpio, which will come to us exactly at 2:14 a.m. Sunday, July 26th. I bet you'll be awake if you're there at the festival and look at Saturn and the moon squaring Jupiter. So again, bring out your true authentic self, your passions, your desires, your excitement, your sexuality, but do so in a way of high conduct, of honor, of sovereignty, because look at this other alignment. We are here with Venus in Virgo, who by this time will have stationed retrograde, moving the world tree, the Halupu tree, as I will transmit during my talk on Sunday, a few hours after this conjunction, from the west to the east, to be born again into her new quest. All right? So can we explore this deep, dynamic self? even that sexual tantric self, in reverence to the devotional goddess, in honor, in sovereignty, in a way of high conduct? Of course the answer is yes, but are you up for the task? At that time of Moon's exact conjunction to Saturn, look how perfectly that trine from Chiron in Pisces to the Mars in Cancer is. 2 minutes out, okay? So this is deep shamanic healing of soul wounds to assist this initiation of the yang energy, the masculine energy, who has been under the beams, right? Exploring that tenderness. Is this okay for the yang? As our culture suggested, perhaps it was not. And we all know this is. But bringing that back out safely is imperative. So as we're exploring again this passionate freeing of the waters of the Scorpio Mystery School, can we do this in a way that honors righteously the sovereign goddess of devotion? And do this in such a tender way so that we won't hurt others or hurt ourselves. And obey this revolution of self that Uranus in Aries has been calling us to for some time. Actually, since March 11th, 2011, the date of Fukushima, interestingly enough, when Uranus for the second time into stay for 7 years ingressed from the waters of Pisces to the fires of Aries. A revolution of self. Occupy yourself. And how does that apply to this initiation of the masculine energy in this way of tenderness, caring, kin? How have we not done that? How have we not been in alignment with the truth of our heart? I wish I could say my response to that question was a very short one. But this is not the case in my own path, and that's a beautiful thing, because sometimes to really know freedom, we have to have a deep exploration of the cage. And have no doubt, Uranus is about freedom. Now, Uranus, on the day after Venus stations retrograde, Uranus will. And that's an amazing thing. Again, this software shows retrograde planets by red numbers. So Venus stationing retrograde on Saturday, Uranus stationing retrograde on Sunday to join Chiron retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde. We will have more retrograde planets than we will have direct planets. Now, I've not been observing the stars and the astrological fold for too long, but this is the first time I've seen that. And what does it mean? Don't believe all of the hype, but it is an entrance into the past, right? Remembrance, not even just in this lifetime, but of the soul. Are there patterns that we can purge to choose this way that we wish to live by? Can we rewrite rules and chisel our own commandments as we move ahead? So many dynamic energies heading in the backwards direction for a moment to help us mine that gold from our lead, that medicine from our poison, the great alchemical transformation of earthly evolution here in the game of the human monkey suit. And maybe that's a decent place to wrap up. But maybe not. Let's explore quickly Neptune in Pisces at home in Pisces. Neptune, the planetary professor of the Pisces Mystery School in so many ways. Retrograde, which means that the Earth is passing Neptune. Okay, so I'm talking about all of these retrograde planets come Sunday, and we can see that here. The further the planet is from Earth, the longer its retrograde period will be. All right, so here is the Earth, and we can see how it's been passing Saturn. You can see out here Pluto. All right, Earth almost reaching that exact alignment to Pluto at this time. This is Uranus, so this is the very beginning of Earth's pass to Uranus. And Neptune, where are you, friend? here, right? So Earth still in this passing of Neptune. So it doesn't all look so close when we zoom out and see the whole system. But again, the further away a planet is from Earth, the longer the retrograde period will be. And so all these retrograde planets are either passing Earth or the Earth is passing them. They are closest, they are brightest. Save for Venus, though she's very bright, we cannot see her because she will be moving under the beams. Not quite yet. The tree line of the forest where we will frolic this weekend will not allow us to see Venus in the sunset sky. But for those of you who are not ensconced within a forest tree line, have a look at Venus. And if you're not heading out to the forest for another day or two, sit with her light in the evening sky. So Neptune has brought a lot of this healing energy into the sign of Pisces, of compassion, of healing, of connection, these waters through which we merge. And that's a very beautiful thing. And what a wonderful statement during these times that have been, well, rather tumultuous, have they not? But Neptune is also the delusions, the fantasies, addictions. Pisces is this. All right, so how have we been that in our lives? And can we be careful as we might explore higher states of consciousness this weekend? Can we again do that in a way of authority, of sovereignty, of righteousness, of high conduct? And so what does Pluto ask for us at this time? And you can see how close Pluto is to Earth now. Pluto, shamanic openings, evolution in the way of Capricorn, who's been mistakenly placed into this patriarchal way of governance and police. Well, it is structure, okay, but the organic structure, the trunk of the tree, the council of grandmothers, the true wisdom of the earth, and the animal spirits, the plant spirits, the true indigenous wisdom that is returning to us now. And so as we honor that calling, here we are returning to nature in community, in tribe. So let's remember to put that first. Can we have this togetherness, this merging, this healing that is not delusional, but is contributing to the evolution of the return of the true earthly ways? Which is to say, don't smash all of the tech and run into the forest to live forever. Do that if you're called. But how can we combine these energies at this important state of the Earth game as we are dawning into the age of Aquarius? How can we be stewards not only of this land that has embraced our incarnational experience, but also of the technology that we give birth to? We are the creator of that. Let's act this way. And can we find a way to merge those energies in a state of balance, whether then in a state of disagreement and destruction? Pluto asks us to face our fears. We're looking at earth changes, inside and outside. And so that current's been strong since 2008 and will be alive till 2023, but he's in a very important part of that Capricorn sign. So now we will end this thing, and I will end this with a reading of one of the Sabian symbols, images channeled forth for every degree of the zodiac in the early 1930s by a psychic named Elsie Wheeler in a park in San Diego at the behest of the great humanistic astrologer Mark Edmund Jones. And I will read to you the symbol for this degree of the zodiac where Pluto now spins, which reads like this. An ancient bas-relief carved in granite remains a witness to a long-forgotten culture. Dan Rogers' keynote of the symbol from his great book, An Astrological Mandala, reads this: the will to unearth in our culture, as well as in any culture, what has permanent value, and to let go of non-essentials. What a wonderful time for us to explore this together in nature's forest, away from the beams that allow our smartphones to be so-called smart, shutting down the tech, connecting in community, in loving care, allowing that tenderness, walking in a way of righteousness, honoring our devotion, and opening ourselves to healing in this revolution of self that will really allow us to righteously explore, experience, and express the freedom of the waters of our hearts. Here's to you. Here's to Mercury, to the sun, to the goddess Venus, and to this great planet Earth that we call home. This is your friendly astronaut Gemini Brett signing off. I will see you in space and then in the forest. Let's have some fun. Love and planets.